from Hearts Standard. My name is Joel Sked, and I'm joined once again by Craig Cairns. How's it going, Craig?
Very well, Joel. How are you doing?
Not so well. I have just been down to get my haircut, and my barber commented on my hairline and said, "Oh, it's receding further." It's like, thank you very much. I am very well, very aware of that. Like, I don't need you of all people to tell to tell me that. A lovely guy, Hibs fan, but yeah, it's not what I wanted to hear.
Are they not supposed to make you feel better about yourself after you're leaving the barbers / hairdressers?
I was straight away looked my hat out and was like, right, get this banged on my head where it will never come off. But yeah, other than that, yeah, all good. We are going to discuss what we'd like to see in the transfer window between now and when it shuts at the end of August. Kind of just looking at, we of course did squad analysis last week, but just looking at future incomings and basically just giving our opinion on what we would like to happen and what types of players we would want the club to see bring in. And also we'll touch on the news today that Craig Gordon is getting a testimonial. It'll be a testimonial year. There'll be events which includes a friendly against Sunderland on July 26th. I'd imagine that will be the final friendly ahead of the start of the Scottish Premiership season.
Yeah, when I was writing it initially, sorry to jump in, but when I was writing it initially, I had put as part of Hearts' pre-season preparations, but then I took that bit out because I thought, is it going to be treated as, because it is like the big sort of showpiece isn't really the right word, but you know what I mean? It's the sort of big friendly, traditional big friendly that you get on the eve of the season, but you wonder whether it'll maybe start as a sort of warm-up game to the season does, and then maybe descend into a bit more of an exhibition match, or are they going to be announcing sort of like guest former players over the next few months?
I think it'll just be a straightforward friendly. I think you would be fine putting as pre-season preparations because, like you said, I think it's probably like the main home friendly ahead of the start of the new season against a team who've just got promoted to the Premier League as well.
And his former club,
and it was a natural opponent to face, because certainly weren't going to face Celtic, that's for sure. But before we get into it, Hearts Standard is brought to you by S1 Jobs. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to s1jobs.com and upload your CV today. With thousands of jobs across Edinburgh and the surrounding area, I always struggle with that one, you'll find the one at S1 Jobs. Start your search today. So before we start our search into what Hearts need to bring in over the rest of the transfer window, of course the transfer window's not even open yet, we will continue talking about Craig Gordon. And I suppose probably the big thing for me is that testimonials, I'm trying to think, this last testimonial we had, was it Robbie Nielsen? Would have been the last off the top of my head. It's probably should have.
I'm not entirely sure. I mean, it's a good shout. There certainly aren't many these days. But yeah, I can't think of one that would have been more recent than that.
Yeah, and I think again that shows that how rare it is. And I just tweeted out just now that big thing is that I think it's hard to envisage a player of such talent that Craig Gordon's displayed over two spells at Tynecastle ever getting a testimonial at Hearts again. It's just especially with the way the Hearts, just football in general, and if players are really good, they'll just be sold on. So it's like
the same. Wrote the same about the goal scoring records recently when I spoke to the guy behind London Hearts, Davy Allen. That I mean, anybody that even gets anywhere near Robbo's records or any of the other goal scoring records, they're just not going to be at Hearts long enough to keep doing it, you would imagine.
Yeah, and just on Gordon, he is very much deserving of the testimonial, considering what he's obviously played loads of games, and he'd have to play for is it 10 years to get one, but it's not as if it's just like someone who's been a squad player or just been like a stalwart that stayed with the club for so long. This is a guy who is on his day, I would class him as, I'm tempted to say, almost to the point of being world class.
Yeah, I mean, he was at his peak, I think. He just didn't get to sort of settle into that at a world-class level. I mean, he was still well regarded for the time that he spent at Sunderland, but injuries kind of robbed them of really sort of kicking on. And it's just got a really great sort of story arc as well. I mean, much of which took place away from Hearts, I suppose, with the missing a couple of years, training with Dumbarton, going back in with Celtic, being fairly successful with them, and then he's returned to Hearts, and then more injury issues there. You'd think, given what I've just described there, and the fact that it was such a serious injury so late in his career, he's already trying to squeeze every last drop he can out of his playing career, given what he's missed. And he recovers from that and not only regains the Hearts jersey, becomes the Scotland #1 goalkeeper again after supposedly being given a farewell cap. So yeah, it's been quite the story from him, and it's not over yet. I mean, he could very well end up being backup for the whole of his next season, and that could be his final season. It wouldn't put a dampener on anything, but he could also finish it by, I don't know, like, we're getting way ahead of myself. I'm not like really commenting on where Hearts are at the moment, but he could possibly end with a trophy or playing at a World Cup or being part of a squad at a World Cup.
That's the thing. It's like, if this is a different discussion, and I know a lot of it's something that divides the Hearts support, I think, just around his status as whether he should be #1 or not. But if he comes into pre-season and really impresses McInnes to the point that he makes himself the #1 and plays the full season. So plays the full season, he would go from, he's currently he's the 27th most, 27th highest appearance holder with 330 for the club, and just say he plays 40 games, takes him, or even 45 games, takes him to 375, and then that takes him into, I think, takes him at the top 20, above Donald Ford, above Dave McPherson, above Stephen Presley, above Alfie Conn in terms of number of appearances for the club, but also on a Scotland level, that if he is #1 and Scotland do reach the World Cup, and just like how many times, so play 8 games in the World Cup qualifiers and then get to the World Cup, he would overtake Jim Leighton as the most capped goalkeeper for Scotland. And let's face it, you talked about his injury issues over his career. If it wasn't for them, I think he would already be the most capped Scotland player of all time, ahead of Kenny Dalglish, who's 102, because Rangers fans might disagree, but of the generation, he's been the best Scottish goalkeeper of his generation. Better than Marshall, definitely better than David Marshall, and better than Alan McGregor.
Yeah, I'd say his peak he was. And the caps that you're talking about there, there's just been an explosion of the amount of caps that players get in recent times. So that's why you have like so many people like shooting up the charts, and like why John McGinn's goal scoring record stands out so much is because there's been so many games in recent times. But yeah, in saying all that, Craig Gordon's got a lot of work to do to get the jersey back, I suppose, potentially. We need to see how this international break goes, because he's missed out on this squad with injury, and it gives Angus Gunn looks like he doesn't have a club at the moment, but he looks like the obvious choice to come back in. So it's Angus Gunn's to lose at the moment, because Craig Gordon kind of got back in through injuries, didn't he?
Yes, yeah. Angus Gunn had an issue, and then I think Gordon played, it's either 8 or 6 games in a row for Scotland.
So there's no guarantee that even when he's fit, and if he plays for Hearts, that he gets. So he still has work to do to even become the Hearts and the Scotland #1.
Just before we move on, putting you on the spot, have you got a standout save?
The one I always go to is the Motherwell one. I saw it in the flesh. David Clarkson. Hearts had gone 2-0 up and then conceded, and then late in the game, like deadly late. I mean, if it wasn't the last minute, it was injury time or something. This volley from Clarkson through bodies, and it's just, it looks like one he's got no right to save, and it was. that's what you still get from Craig Gordon now. You saw that a few times even last season. He pulls off saves that, while other parts of his game may have declined, he can still pull off saves that other goalkeepers can't.
I mean, that's the one I naturally go to. Again, like you, I was there.
Can I just add, though, a more recent one, the Ross County double save. It was a triple save, which he downplayed the third part of, I think. I can't remember. So I'm talking about it recently. But the double save up at Dingwall. You know the one I mean?
Not off the top of my head.
Oh, go watch it after this. It's definitely, it's possibly even better than the Motherwell one that I've just described.
Okay, I will do. Because there's these in his second spell. He obviously won the Player of the Year because he was so good and he was key to us finishing third that season. And also even in the Championship season, there was times where he built Hearts out with some incredible saves. Like you, Clarkson always comes to mind. Sat in section E for that game, so I had a really good kind of angle on it. And I actually think I might be wrong, but it went for a corner. And I think as soon as the corner was taken, the referee blew the final whistle.
But
right?
That might be that close.
Might be my mind playing tricks on me. The other one that I go to, and I think he's added to its mystique because the footage of it is so bad, but his triple save against Sparta Prague at Murrayfield. It was incredible, but it's like properly like great. Just the footage is absolutely scandalous for how good the triple save was. We will move on to talking about the transfer window, or what we'd like to see happen in the coming weeks and months before it shuts. I think the window opens on June the 16th and closes end of August, but I think that's subject to change. Hearts have been linked. Hearts are interested in former Celtic winger Daniel Arzani. We reported that earlier on this week, and there will be certainly more ins and outs to come. Hearts have obviously already secured Elton Kabanga a permanent deal, have brought in Christian Borch-Grevink, the Norwegian right back, Alexandros Kiaridis, the Greek left winger, and Oisin McEntee, the midfielder from Walsall. Craig, I have noted down 3 positions where I would like, or 3 kind of profiles I would like Hearts to sign. But I'll start by asking you, what's the big one for you? What would you like to see Hearts do?
We're talking on the presumption that Lauren Shanklin is going to sign a deal. Not that we have any special knowledge that that's about to happen or anything like that, but let's go on that assumption. I'd still like to see a different option, a bigger, to continue the theme, a bigger striker, like you've mentioned before, but someone who's mobile as well. If you're being greedy, then somebody that could also kind of doesn't have to always play through the middle, can maybe do it off the side or as an inside forward or something like that. But yeah, that would be an ideal signing. I think Hearts are kind of well stocked elsewhere. I think there's some, I don't know. I mean, there's the more you keep adding, the more they have to leave. But you'd expect there will have to be some outgoings. But yeah, you could. There's some players there, I guess, that I would be happy hanging around as squad players, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were moved on and somebody more to provide more competition was brought in. But yeah, at the moment, I don't see any other obvious positions. Maybe a right back potentially, because just not sure what's happening with Forrester. And there's also some of the players that were on loan last season I expect to be given a chance in the League Cup group stages, so they could maybe add to the squad for the coming season as well.
I think so. Before talking about what we'd like to see come in, because the squad is big, with the possible exits, I think Hearts fans there might be a few exits where Hearts fans raise their eyes or raise a few eyebrows with those are sort of surprise exits who maybe people didn't see coming. I mentioned this on the squad, I think it was a squad analysis pod, that I don't think anyone's off the table. I think everyone's, other than the guys who just came in, and if Shankland signs a new deal, but I don't think any of the current squad or the squad that was here last season are off the table if there is opportunity to move players on or make a good amount of money on some of the squad's assets. I think someone like Macaulay Tate, I would expect him to go out on loan again to a Premiership team rather than be part of the squad. I think that would just be it's natural for him to. We talked about it, step up to the Premiership and play regularly. Whereas at the moment, midfield is there's quite a logjam with the options there. And you said it, I think there's areas of the pitch where Hearts are well stocked and probably overly stocked, where they need to lose a wee bit of fat. You look at centre back. There is I think there's currently 8 players who can play centre back. So centre backs move on, and then centre midfielders there's loads and move on.
Should say, just to add quickly, wingers, because I mean you mentioned a couple of wingers. I expect Hearts to add more wingers, but in the absence of there not being any more signings on that front at the moment, then more quality out wide, I think.
Yeah, so you've mentioned 2 of the 3 that I would like to the profile that I would like to come in. Top one was focal point / kind of target man in attack, and ideally, if I was to describe or the type of profile of that player that I would like to come in, I'm thinking Lee Miller. He's like someone like Lee Miller in that loan spell where
he's a bit old.
Yeah, he's a bit old. Yeah, get him and Mark Birchall back. So someone in the mould of him, or someone in the mould of Kevin Kyle, who is a real presence between the width of the box, and it's not like a target man. So you've got Shankland, who I think he is a very good focal point, but he's natural kind of dropping, linking play. Whereas I think with a target man, it's probably a bit more of a almost static presence higher up the pitch, and especially with Hearts and the focus to get the ball wide and to get the ball crossing at the box. We talked about it. Wingers coming in. Derek McInnes has specifically talked about wingers and the ability to cross the ball. We talked about McEntee, who's got talked about with Tom, who's got a good crossing ability, and then Borch-Grevink as well. You need targets in there, and I think having a physical presence in the box is massive in Scottish football, and we've talked about it before, about the need to have a centre-back who can head the ball, a striker who is kind of physically imposing, good in there, a midfielder who's able to pick up on loose balls, and also a goalkeeper who's competent. And Hearts have got a couple of those, so they're well stocked in certain areas, but it's just that striker that's missing. Ideally you'd want that striker to be mobile as well, maybe a bit of pace, but those type of strikers are very hard to come by, and if they're able to be a physical presence and run in behind, then they are very in demand.
What about a number 10? Do you think that Hearts have a number 10 at the club that could step in next season should Derek McInnes need one, or do you think that's something else that they could possibly identify at some point? I mean, doesn't even have to be this summer. I could be talking about like further down the line in January or next summer or something like that.
I think that's an interesting question, and one of my 3 options was a midfielder, more of a number 8, kind of box to box. It's a type of player Hearts fans gravitate towards. Everyone talks about Hartley, everyone talks about Colin Cameron. That kind of player would be huge. I don't think McEntee is quite that, and Nieuwenhof we've always kind of talked about. Could he be that type of player? But if there's an option to bring in a different type of player like that, then definitely think Hearts should take it. As for number 10, it's a case of wait and see, because I'm interested to see and get the chance to speak to him and ask him about players specifically. Spittle and Danda, we've talked about before how he's mentioned he's a fan. Neither of those played as came in as a number 10, but neither of them played as a number 10. So I think you got two there, and then even doing a bit more reading on Arzani, I think he could be that kind of player as well. So at the moment, I wouldn't say it is a priority, and it's more of a kind of wait and see. Whereas, like with wingers, we talked about it. The fact that there's been strong links with Chesnikov, interest in Arzani. I do think, as well as Kiridis, Hearts still need two more, and that's one of those. I think does have to be a really pacey, direct, more traditional profile of winger.
Yeah, there has been a lot of talk about wingers, and to the point where people are just mocking the amount of wingers that Hearts are signing, but they still only brought in the one. One's been long linked, and another one is more recently linked. So there's still work to do to get more in. But it does look like whether it's those players or not, Chesnikov and Arzani, they will add players of that profile at some point. It seems if it's not those two.
Yeah, which is encouraging. And on your point of right, I think you also made a good point about right back. It's not a priority, but
no, exactly. It doesn't need work. Yeah. But if you're just kind of like going through with a fine tooth comb, and a lot of it depends on what he sees in Forrester and what he thinks about Forrester, I believe. Which I think he's going to be a competent, perfectly competent squad player for next season, and first team player if we need him as well. I think he showed that. I know he's got some of his detractors, but I don't know. Do you think that that would be potentially a hindrance to him, potentially being back up most of the season? Do you think he would benefit from whether it's the Championship or I don't know whether I'd imagine some Premiership teams would be interested as well? Do you think a loan would be more beneficial for
him?
That's what was supposed to happen. Just to remind folk, just before he got his debut in the senior team, they were planning, like Sunderland and the like. They were looking, and Tate, they were looking at which club he should go to for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think it's beneficial for. I think it's more beneficial for every player, but especially young players to be playing regularly. But I do think there's probably just as much benefit as him being around. And like even at least stick him with it maybe the first 6 months, and then rethinking it, like looking at it again in January, and even just seeing how pre-season goes in the first few weeks. It's not going to be as demanding, but it's probably beneficial for him to be part of that. To be part of McInnes' squad for the first few months, and then can see him again. I do think this past season will have done the world a good. He's been challenged, which is good. He's shown a bit of resilience in adversity, and also I think the summer off and the pre-season under McInnes was like really intense, and would hope to see him maybe take the next step physically. I do think he could. There should be more to come from him on that side of things, which I think is really important.
Yeah, and sometimes that's just how quickly your body develops and all those kind of things. It's not always down to how much work that you're putting in the gym and all those kind of things. But he did say that his plan was to get bigger and quicker, wasn't it? Faster and stronger, I think he said.
Which I think you'll need to be to play for McInnes.
I think so. Yeah, he is slightly on the slight side, but as I said, he's still he's in sort of the dying embers of growing, isn't he? And he's already big, so he's definitely got the frame to be a success, the physical attributes to be a success.
Well, there we go. I think we've covered all the avenues of and obviously it's such. I think it's important to stress it's such a fluid window because of how many players that could go out, and the turnover is. I think the turnover will be by the time you look back at it at the end of August. I think we'll look at bloody hell. That's been quite a change.
Players need to leave.
Yeah,
sooner or later, players have to leave. Surely, can't be taking all of them to Spain.
It's one of those where I do think it starts to ramp up probably later towards the end of this month when your teams get back to pre-season. Hearts not back in pre-season until later on in June, and when English clubs come in, because there'll be options to move players down south. So yeah, it'll be it's one of those where it feels like a lot's happened already, but I think there'll be a lot more to come. That'll be us for this week. I think we'll be, unless anything major happens over the next few days, we will be back at the start of next week. Be sure to check out heartstandard.co.uk. There is plenty there to get your teeth into. Craig has got an excellent piece. Having spoken to Jim Jeffries, if there's anyone that knows how to build a squad to be successful at Hearts, it is Jim Jeffries, of course. He's done it a couple of times, and they've got stuff from the past week around transfers, around the new cooperation agreement. We've got the stuff around the Tony Bloom deal, a wee bit about Hearts B next season as well. Angus Beef talked to me about just some of the challenges, players moving to England, or the benefits of players staying as opposed to moving to England. And tomorrow we'll have a big feature on Derek McInnes and players who have played with him, and they talk about what it's like and what he creates at a club. But until next week, thank you very much, everyone, and hope you enjoy your weekend. And be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're continuing to grow steadily, and it is thanks to you. Goodbye.